If this is crooked, do not tell me. Do not tell me, because we will break up right now. Right now. And you will not get a second chance. You will not. You will not! There's no romance. What's the point? Just kidding. Maybe. Darling. Yo, it's Anne, aka Antagonist. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all things books, movie, and TV with an emphasis on romance. It's Romance Trope Thursdays, a series on my channel where I do a deep dive into a different romance trope in each video. And when I say deep dive, I mean deep. We go into the history, classifications, and subtropes. We talk about the key ingredients of the trope. And I always end off the video with my book, TV, and movie recommendations. And sometimes songs too. You're welcome. It has been a year since I have filmed a Romance Trope Thursday video, and I apologize because 2024 was beating me up emotionally. Boom, boom, pow, 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 pow. But we are back, okay? And I am determined to make 2025 that girl and that year. So I thought the perfect way to celebrate Valentine's Day would be the 7th episode of Romance Trope Thursday. I've already done quite a few other videos detailing other romance tropes. So if you have not seen those videos, I'm gonna link the playlist up here in the cards below. Above. Today, I'm gonna be covering second chance romance, which, you know, also not one of my favorite tropes. Maybe the issue is me covering tropes I don't enjoy, huh? Because I did Insta-Love before. But it's gonna get the same treatment that all the other tropes get. Still gonna give it its due diligence. I'm still gonna give it my all because at the end of the day, I'm still a romance girly. We're still gonna have fun. So enough stalling. Here's my take on second chance romance. Let's get into it.
You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late, that such precious feelings are gone forever.
First thing we'll start off is by defining second chance romance. Second chance romance is a romantic trope in which two characters who previously shared a romantic connection, but were later separated due to an event or various circumstances, find themselves reconnected and given the opportunity to rekindle their love. Second chance romance is most rooted and derived from the idea of tragic tales of lost love, and many forms of the trope are embedded throughout history and literature. Several ancient tales like Greek tragedies speak on lost love. A great example of this is the tragic tale of Orpheus. Orpheus loses his wife on the day of their wedding, and he goes to the underworld to try and retrieve her, but ultimately fails. The ancient Chinese tale, Butterfly Lovers, is equally as tragic. It's about a girl who disguises herself as a man to get an education, and she falls in love with one of her classmates. But when she reveals her true self, their love affair is short-lived before they are separated, and her lover dies of a broken heart. And only in their afterlife are the two reunited. I guess think of Mulan and Shang if they had to reincarnate as butterflies to be together. Many classic novels like Wuthering Heights, The Great Gatsby, and Jane Eyre hinge on the notion of an old flame or the one who got away. But back in the day, many of these types of stories had themes of sadness, melancholy, and had unhappy or sad ending. A great example is the 1942 film Casablanca. Rick is reunited with an old flame who callously broke his heart years ago. But now Rick's old flame is married, and he has to make the decision to help her and her husband escape from imprisonment and possibly lose her all over again, or make the selfish choice. The one who got away implicitly speaks to regret and the tragedy of a person having to live with the constant feeling of longing for what could have been. That's where second chance romance enters the picture, in which this tragedy is swapped for a happier and more hopeful ending, where lovers do get a second chance to make things right. Jane Austen's Persuasion is a popular example of second chance romance in classical literature. In Jane Austen's novel, our main character, Anne Elliot, is persuaded to end things with her then lover, Frederick Wentworth, because of his lack of rank. Her parents don't want her marrying a brokey. I know that's right! But years later, they are reunited, and Anne assumes that Frederick will hate her for the way that she did him all those years ago. But in a final twist of events, in the most romantic confession via letter, Jane Austen loves her confessions in a letter, he declares that he has never stopped loving her and utters these famous words: "You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope." Another form of second chance romance that was quite popular historically was the marriage in trouble arc, especially in film. Mostly because at the time, romantic tension and sex between unmarried couples was not to be showcased on any screen. So marriage in trouble served as a narrative device that allowed films to explore more complex romance arcs. This is exhibited in the 1940s film His Girl Friday, in which a reporter teams up for one last investigative case with his journalism partner, who also happens to be his ex-wife, as he tries to win her back before she remarries. Now in modern storytelling, second chance romance often portrays the messiness of relationships and explores themes of growth, forgiveness, redemption, and the persistence of true love.
Did you know that penguins mate for life? Although, Mr. Monell told us that sometimes the husband and wife penguins get separated. Sometimes they're apart for years. They almost always find each other.
So second chance romance can be split into two main classifications: relationship status and cause of separation, which can be thought of as a before and after. So when it comes to relationship status, we are referring to the relationship status before the separation or breakup. So first category is relationship. So this one's pretty self-explanatory and the most popular iteration of second chance romance, in which the two characters were in an exclusive relationship before they broke up. Then we have married. So the characters were also in a romantic relationship, except this time the government was involved. This often adds more stakes to the situations because they often have a lot more baggage and issues to work through given the seriousness of their relationship. And other things like co-parenting may come into play. And last, we have situationship. This one's kind of a catch-all category and encompasses anything that's a little bit unclear or in sort of a gray area. This couple may have had a one-night stand and they spent the entire day together after that, but then something complicated things and that broke them apart. This can be a little bit more controversial as a classification because many believe that for a couple to fall under the second chance romance trope, they have to fall under relationship or married. But to me, to be classified as second chance romance, the romantic encounter they had before their separation has to tick off two boxes. One, the romantic encounter that they had to have been meaningful, as in they felt love or very, very strong feelings. And two, that the romantic nature of the encounter was mutually understood. So if one character felt real love from a situation but the other character didn't, then that would fall under unrequited love or another category. Both characters need to have known that they were in a romantic situation that was meaningful to the both of them to count as second chance romance. Then we have the cause of separation. So what broke this couple apart? For external, this is referring to things that are outside of the character's control. So maybe one of the characters had to move, they went to different colleges, or maybe their parents didn't want them together and they broke them apart. Then we have internal factors that cause them to separate. So this has more to do with the personality and characteristics of both characters in the relationship. And it's usually referring to the flaws of their characters. This could include immaturity, lack of communication, incompatibility in their lifestyles, any other personality flaws, or insecurities. And it's usually the actions that characters take because of their internal shortcomings that lead to the relationship's demise. And last, we have miscommunication. Miscommunication is kind of a mix of internal and external factors. So a good example of this is in The Notebook. Our two characters, Noah and Allie, have a fundamental misunderstanding of how they feel about each other after they are forced to break up. The external circumstance comes from Allie's parents' disapproval of their relationship, and the fact that her mother hid the letters that Noah was sending her every day for a year, making Allie misunderstand that he did not care about her. But the internal factors come from Allie's general passiveness and complacency when it comes to decisions in her life.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
I haven't trusted a relationship since then. Until Angela, sir.
But she doesn't seem to like you, son.
Oh, she loves me, sir.
There are several common subtropes and archetypes that we find in second chance romance. The first one on the wall is childhood friends or high school sweethearts. So it's pretty common in second chance romance narratives to find couples that were linked romantically as children. So maybe they had crushes on each other and they confessed this. Maybe they had a full-on relationship in high school and are reunited years later. Often with stories like this, we have dual timelines in which we switch from the past and the present, and the suspension and tension is in finding out what actually broke them apart in the first place. So a good example of this is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, in which our couple used to be together back in high school and they meet years later, and we go from the past and the present to see what ultimately broke them apart. Then we have Marriage in Trouble, which I spoke on a little bit in the history section. So this is referring to a couple that is married and they're on the brink of divorce or separation, or maybe they have been separated for years and are now finding their way back to each other to repair their relationship. Then we have lovers to enemies to lovers. So this refers to a couple who broke up, and the breakup was so malicious and terrible that they hate each other after and become enemies, but then they eventually find each other again and fall in love all over again. I haven't read this book, but I believe These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong has this trope. And then we have the one who got away. So this refers to a romantic relationship that ended before it could reach its full potential. And often both characters are forever marred by this relationship and have never been the same. There's a lot of angst and a lot of longing with this trope. I would consider Persuasion as an example of this one here, because their relationship was cut short because Anne was pretty young and impressionable and she was persuaded to leave him, even though they didn't get to truly realize their romantic feelings at the time. And the last archetype here is the old flame or repentant ex. So this implies that one person is in the wrong in this relationship and has done something to cause the relationship to end. But they've now come back to right their wrong and are specifically on a mission to win back their ex.
I hope one day I can love the way that you love me.
You figured it out once. You'll do it again.
So the key ingredients for second chance romance. First, we have our lovers, which are represented here as two different colors. Lovers in whatever capacity that is, whether it be their boyfriend and girlfriend, they have confessed their feelings to each other, or maybe they're even married. But there are clearly romantic vibes or attraction that is understood by both parties. And they have different attributes, but they blend together, as you can see in this merge of two people. And then we have the separation. It's what breaks them apart so that they are no longer together. Often the nature of the separation is quite tragic. It makes you feel like things have been left unresolved. Then we have our reunion, where our couple meets again. And they come with their same attributes that they had. They're still the same people, but there's also some new attributes that are added, some new color to their life. And when they meet again, whatever brings them back together, whether it's coincidence, we as the audience need to see their growth and what steps they have taken to grow and improve in their shortcomings that caused the breakup in the first place. And lastly, we have lovers. So when our lovers want to come back together, they realize that they now have the tools and the circumstances to give their love another try. Whether that be internal growth that will allow them to learn from their mistakes, or a situational hazard that was keeping them away from each other is no longer an obstacle. Either way, they're lovers again. And as you can see, it's no longer the same image that they had with their relationship. And even though it's more chaotic and messy, it's a prettier and more hopeful picture than they had ever had before. And they've made something new, but ultimately beautiful.
So I haven't asked you, but I have to. I mean, are you ever gonna marry me? I can't do this anymore.
So I'm gonna go over 3 criticisms that are often associated with second chance romance. The first one is that the audience does not feel like they are along for the journey. Often people criticize second chance romance because of where we start in the story. Many people seek out romantic narratives to watch people fall in love for the first time. And they want to see that meet cute. They want to know everything, the ins and out about the relationship that they are watching. This user on Reddit posits the way that second chance romance can backfire in these situations. In some books, authors use this trope as a means of getting around the hard work of showing the characters fall in love. It can be used like insta-love in a way. The main character's love, relationship, and connection is already presumed, and we're told to just roll with it. They're the love of each other's lives, but we don't get to fall in love with them. Another thing that can hinder people from second chance romance is the reason or the cause of the breakup. On one hand, if the reason is too light and silly and just unrealistic to readers, this can make them skeptical of the romantic connection between the two characters. But on the other hand, if the reason is deemed unforgivable, like for a lot of people, infidelity is something that they cannot overlook, then it's hard to convince them that the couple should be together. So this reason for the breakup has to be believable, but not so horrible that you turn off your audience. The last thing is some people see it as a toxic cycle or going with what's familiar. Sometimes in second chance romance, it can feel like our characters are moving backwards rather than forwards by looking into the past and going back with someone that they had at one point decided they didn't want to be in a relationship with. Also, it comes with a lot of romanticizing the past, and people can often be skeptical of what the relationship would look like in the future, or if this person is just holding on to what's familiar rather than getting out of their comfort zone. I think the natural instinct for people is to see an arc and to see a change in a character. And sometimes with second chance romance, it can feel like an arc is not being complete. Rather than a progression, we are seeing a regression in this person's character.
It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be really hard. And we're gonna have to work at this every day, but I wanna do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever. You and me, every day.
Personally, I think second chance romance is one of the harder tropes to pull off. And the main reason is that with second chance romance, you've already lost your audience's suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief is defined as to temporarily allow oneself to believe something that isn't true, especially in order to enjoy a work of fiction. It's the willful avoidance of critical thinking and logic to believe in something that's unreal. Many forms of fiction, like fantasy and sci-fi, rely on the suspension of disbelief from their audiences. But the same thing can be said for a lot of romance stories. There's a lot of rom-coms and romantic stories that I love and completely adore. But if we thought critically about all the different fictional couples that we enjoy, I think we would find that a lot of them would not necessarily live happily ever after. But with second chance romance, that illusion is immediately shattered. And now the story is tasked with the challenge of convincing the audience of something that has already been proven to fail, immediately setting up your audience to be skeptical. So here are a few quick tips on how to master second chance romance. And as a hater, I think I am the best source of knowledge. The first tip of advice I'll give to master second chance romance is to show the meet cute. Show the meet cute. Show how the couple met. We spoke on this in criticisms. This is sometimes a part of the story that second chance romance misses. But if you show us how the couple met, then problem solved. If you couple this by showing some more key moments in their relationship, that's even better because you're bringing the audience along for the ride. Many modern iterations of the trope show us past and present timelines, which helps people get invested in the couple and the romance. The second tip is have insane chemistry. This one goes without saying. Chemistry between the leads can make or break any romance story. But I think what's most important specifically to second chance romance is making sure that the insane chemistry follows the relationship before the breakup and after the breakup. I'd mentioned a lot of second chance romances flip between the past and present timelines, but a lot of times the past seems like a lot more fun and the present just isn't making sense anymore. And the chemistry has died. A movie that completely fails at this is Sweet Home Alabama. In that film, we're told a lot of stuff about their relationship in the past. In the present, the characters are completely different people, and it doesn't really show how they match together anymore. Especially our female main character, she has changed a lot and made something of herself, and I don't think the film did a good job of showing their chemistry as adults. They didn't show us chemistry as kids, but they definitely didn't show us chemistry as adults. The third tip I will give, and what is needed in a second chance romance, is pain. Yes, I'm using the same emoji, we're on a budget. When I say pain, I don't mean pain, P-A-I-N, I mean pain, P-A-Y-N, as an acronym, which stands for pining, angst, yearning, okay? We need all of that in second chance romance for it to be good, for you to master the trope. We need our characters to have been pining, especially behind the scenes. Ooh, don't we love that? Don't we love that as a twist? Angst, like they want to be together so bad, but they can't. They can't. And yearning. Dare I say more? Do I really need to explain this one? Come on now. The fourth tip I will give is growth. Okay? We need our characters to grow. And growth implies the passage of time. There has to have been some time between the separation and when they get back together so that they can grow. The promise of the trope is us watching these characters get to the point where they want to give their love another try. There's a reason they broke up in the first place, especially if it's due to internal factors. So we need to see these characters learn, evolve, so that they can really give this love another chance. And last but not least, my fifth tip is to marry with another trope. Honestly, I do think second chance romance can just get repetitive and stale. It can be very rinse and repeat, dual timelines, miscommunication, broke them apart, yada, 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 yada. But if you combine it with another trope, I think it can add a little spice to the situation. So I didn't enjoy this book, but Happy Place by Emily Henry did marry fake dating with second chance romance. So that does make things more exciting for other people. Lovers to enemies to lovers kind of combines enemies to lovers with second chance romance, which can make things more spicy, very spicy. So I think this is another great way to make second chance romance that girl. I would say from all my tips, if you touch on at least 3 of them, then you will be golden and you will have a decent second chance romance story. If you get all 5, then you have mastered second chance romance. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you in love with me? Because I'm in love with you. Deeply. But I assume that you would never, because I've messed this up so many times.
So why do people enjoy second chance romance? A lot of readers can relate to the character's growth and maturity. Second chance romance takes our characters on a journey to their redemption via their relationship. And a lot of people can relate to the growing pains that come with this. Also, a lot of readers can see their own relationship dynamics reflected in stories. Even if they didn't break up, a lot of the trials that these people are going through in their relationship are commonplace and relatable to a lot of people. But most of all, the genre explores the idea that people can learn from their mistakes and get a second chance at love. It showcases that even though people aren't perfect and aren't able to get it right the first time, that there is still hope for redemption and forgiveness. And it's in that hope that second chance romance tells us that love, even when it goes hideously wrong, can still blossom into something truly beautiful. Onto the recommendations.
Took us around 30 seconds after you guys left for us to realize we didn't want to lose you two again.
We?
I made the mistake of not coming after you once, Lizzie. I'm not going to do that again, no matter how brave you are.
Like I said, this is not my favorite trope, so my recommendations are for book, TV, and movies that I still did quite enjoy that kind of reflect second chance romance. So for TV shows, I would recommend Schmidt and Cece from New Girl, Sean and Angela from Boy Meets World, Austin and Ally from Austin and Ally, Marianne and Connell from Normal People, and Goblin is a good K-drama. I would say it kind of fits into second chance romance. And then for movies, I would recommend Crazy Stupid Love, Definitely Maybe, The Notebook, Love and Basketball, He's Just Not That Into You, and The Parent Trap. That one, that is my #1 second chance romance film. Like, that worked for me. No notes. Blueprint. And then finally for books, I would recommend 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Really enjoyed that book. Private Arrangements by Sherry Thomas. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Normal People by Sally Rooney. And I would also recommend Persuasion by Jane Austen. Even though I have not read the book, I trust that it is good. And I've also heard that Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan is really good. I actually just got that book from the library, so maybe I'll finish it post-editing and give you a thumbs up, thumbs down if it's good or not. It was good. It was good. Period, Kennedy Ryan. Period. But those are my recommendations. All right, guys, thank you for watching my video. I know it's been such a long time since I've done a Romance Trope Thursday video, so I really hope you enjoyed it. I was trying to get into the groove of things, so bear with me. Let me know how you feel about second chance romance. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why not? If you have some recommendations for somebody who's not a big fan, let me know. Definitely subscribe, because if you subscribe, you get what? 99% hotter. Yeah, it's true. I want to make it up. Try it. Try it. We're so close to 10K. So, you know, make you hot, make me hot. What? No. Anyways, subscribe. And also, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have the best Valentine's Day. Make it the best Valentine's Day. Get a rom-com. Get some popcorn. I'll try and do that. I know I don't have plans. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.